Hello, and welcome to today's session. As always, I'm your host, Kevin Grote, Staff Systems Engineer here at VMware. Today, we're going to be talking about end-user compute. Man, I love talking about end-user computing, specifically when we're talking about Horizon. So you might recall inside of the other video that we were talking about Workspace ONE. Well, Horizon's a very important part of Workspace ONE. After all, Horizon is where we deliver the core of the end-user compute vision through virtual desktop infrastructure. And it was one of the first things that our customers attached to very early on inside of their end-user compute journey. Horizon 7 marks a major advancement as we're looking at creating clear and concise availability for desktop infrastructure for our consumers, giving them something that is both consumer simple and enterprise secure, all wrapped up into one. So today we're going to be looking at things like smart policies, new protocols, all sorts of great things that make Horizon 7 even stronger than it ever was before. And hopefully by the end of this session, you'll have a clear understanding of how Horizon 7 can snap into your own infrastructure and how to best make use of all of these great new capacities and functionalities. So without any further ado, let's take a deeper look at VMware Horizon version 7. So when we look at Horizon 7, it really is built for mobile cloud. Customers' journeys have told us how people are adopting and how people are leveraging the consumerization of their IT. The last 10 years, it was all about desktop first. Just give them a desktop and let them do what they have to do. Going forward, it's going to be about mobile cloud first, with an expectation that cloud-hosted workspaces are going to reach 29% of enterprises. And today, we reside squarely inside of a space where we're looking at applications first. In fact, if anything, we're kind of bridging that space between applications and mobile cloud. Most everyone now, the vast majority of people, have some form of desktop or application virtualization in space inside of their enterprise. Yeah, I guess we could say that the year of the desktop has really come upon us, and we've probably been living in it for just a little bit of a while now. So what exists inside of the Horizon portfolio to make this happen for us? Well, Horizon 7, it's still Horizon, and it gives us desktop and application delivery from a private cloud. That is your on-premise solution. And then we have Horizon Air. Horizon Air being able to give you at a subscription rate cloud-hosted desktops and application deliveries from a from a public cloud. And then we have Horizon Flex. Horizon Flex giving us containerized desktop and applications. This is going to be perfect for offline mode, where you want to be able to give users the ability to leverage desktops offline, but you don't want to sacrifice IT security and policy frameworks. Again, all of this, much like we said with Workspace ONE, is about delivering end-user compute that is consumer simple and being able to deliver it in a way that is also enterprise secure. So let's look at some of the new things inside of Horizon 7. Well, one is just-in-time delivery. Now, just-in-time delivery is leveraging Instant Clone. Some of you might remember Instant Clone as VM Fork. Okay? So really what this does is this allows us to bake it right into vSphere. We take a booted up parent VM, and that VM is quiesced and then hot cloned to produce derivative VMs very rapidly. It leverages the same disk and memory of the parent, with the clone starting in an already booted up state. So what this does is this allows us to bypass the cycle time incurred with traditional cloning or even linked cloning, where several power cycle and reconfiguration calls are usually made. So you combine this with app volumes and user environment manager, administrators can use Instant Clone to rapidly spin up desktops and have users be able to retain customization and persona from session to session, which makes a lot of our older ideas of the way we approached infrastructure really antiquated. Now, It's important to remember when we're talking about instant clones that yes, it has the capacity to spin up machines in just seconds. However, if you go to the store and you buy a desktop, yes, you can buy it. You can swipe your credit card in just a second and bang, you've got yourself a desktop. But you still have to customize it. You still have to get your applications installed. So it's important to remember that when you're looking at this, that it does have the ability to deploy desktops and fork from the original parent and quiesce that original desktop in a ridiculously fast amount of time from the gold master. However, you are going to need, maybe a few more seconds or maybe even a minute to allow everything to get pushed down to that desktop when we're talking about applications and user data. Still, significant night and day improvements over anything that exists inside of the market today, and a huge change from what we were doing with View Composer and linked clones. Instant clones give us much faster provisioning. It's more highly performant. We no longer have to deal with boot storms because we're not booting up a bunch of machines and having to go through several reconfiguration processes. Because the desktops share the same disk and memory for reads, we have better performance through a common cache layer. And it also means that desktop administration is much simpler. No more refresh, no more recompose, no more rebalancing, and we no longer have a separate database for View Composer and have to deal with all of the connectivity that View Composer had to deal with. Doesn't mean that Composer and linked clones is out of the game. It just means it allows for a different form of decisioning and more flexibility inside of the space. Inside of Horizon 7, we also have smart policies. It gives us the ability to introduce a suite of security and policy-focused capabilities that helps customers improve overall security posture. So now, based upon where users are accessing their resources, we're able to align whether it's from access points or policy-managed features. Everything is going to be consistent for the user across all of their devices. And it's going to be policy-based and contingent upon the point of access. When we were talking about Workspace ONE in the other video, we mentioned that the user themselves is kind of the call for policy. They are the definition of policy. And so based upon how they're accessing it, what they're doing, it might be plugging in or removing a USB. It might be connecting to a specific network. Any of these things and more, whether it be drive redirection or clipboard or printing, could trigger a specific policy behavior. This allows IT to retain that flexibility and security, and it still allows the users to be able to use whatever they want, whenever they want, and know that they're doing so in a safe way that aligns with their corporate policies. The policies customize features at runtime. So some of the capabilities that we mentioned before include cut and paste, drive redirection, USB, printing. It also allows us to control the user experience through PC over IP profiles so that we can more effectively streamline the type of experience users are having, not just the data that's present to them, but the way that they're receiving it. So how does it work? So the desktop admin is going to use the User Environment Manager console to create a set of policies for a set of desktops. They're going to allow or disable features, like we said, could be USB, local printing, clipboard access, drive direction, and PC over IP profile to determine bandwidth or quality of service. The policy can be applied based upon maybe their group or their AD or their OU that they belong to, whether the user is accessing the desktop from a remote location. Maybe you want to slow down bandwidth for something like that, and then you could build out a generalized list of conditions such as maybe tags. Where they're accessing gives them a certain tag that accesses a specific set of machines. Those specific machines then get access and applied these smart policies. The PC over IP, that's actually kind of one of my favorites because this allows admin to customize experience based on bandwidth. So like we said, an example, administrator could restrict bandwidth utilization for users using Wi-Fi connections as opposed to users that are accessing it over over LAN, right? Lots of different points of flexibility, and it can constantly be reevaluated every time the desktop is connected or reconnected, and it will customize the settings based upon current conditions. So just because it happens once doesn't mean it'll happen every single time. And again, with True SSO, we can integrate with Kerberos, Radius, Smart Card, RSA Secure ID, and again, inside of their mobile devices, also biometrics are a huge one. So this means that through Identity Manager, we can integrate with existing authentication and authorization stores. The user does not need to know their Active Directory credentials. We can just obfuscate those, allow them to log in very simply, and no longer have that single point of failure inside of the authentication space. We're also introducing Blast Extreme. Now, it's important to know Blast Extreme isn't HTTP, it is H.264. So we now have the ability to include some of the lowest cost PCs with the highest levels of battery life. And so now we can flexibly choose between PC over IP and also Blast Extreme display technology for machines that aren't going to be, accessing it the same way as your conventional desktop. So this is really a whole new protocol for a much more rich and robust desktop experience. So they're going to be accessing this across all of the H.264 environments and be able to deliver rich multimedia and be able to do it in a much lower bandwidth. Another cool feature is URL content redirection. This is one that I thought was pretty cool. It gives us the ability to redirect a URL from a virtual desktop instance to the local browser. So let's say a user types the target URL inside of the browser, inside of the VDI instance. If it's an internal URL, we can redirect and say, go ahead and launch this inside of the VDI desktop. But if it's an external URL, again, allowing users to behave the way they're going to behave, then it can launch that browser on the client machine. This gives us more security, more points of access and control, and again, it allows us to approach it in a way that is seamless and ubiquitous to the user themselves. So they're still doing everything they're going to do every day, we just maintain more control and more flexibility. Blast Extreme gives us all sorts of integration when we're talking about it being the cloud protocol. Again, it's network friendly. We've got broad client support. The devices that are using it really have fantastic battery life for mobile workers. This means that your architectural decisions as you're going out there as a trusted advisor are all the more flexible. Horizon 7 also brings to bear enterprise management capabilities. And when we're talking about enterprise application management, being able to leverage things like app capture and app isolation so that we can simplify the way applications are being brought into app volumes and also the way they're being isolated from one another. And one of my favorites is app toggle, being able to create a single app stack and then to be able to turn on or off applications as they're needed without having to create entirely different app stacks every time. And to be able to have this integrated app and user management and the monitoring platform with built-in workflows and reliable application lifecycle management so that you're able to see how users are accessing, where they're accessing, and with what. We also now have introduced VMware Horizon Air hybrid mode. So you probably remember this as Project Enzo. This is where we leverage the hybrid cloud for the control plane, and then we leverage the data center for on-premise desktop and applications. So this way customers really get the best the cloud has and then the speed and the performance that exists inside of on-premise for those hybrid workloads. This allows VMware to deliver upon the idea of a true cloud architecture for end user compute. Everything from a unified control plane to access to any infrastructure and ensuring that users have the same great experience across all of their devices, reducing single points of failure with access, and increasing IT flexibility and policy-based orchestration inside of it all. Thanks again for taking time with me today. Hopefully you found this information valuable as always. I look forward to talking to you again soon, and until then, be sure to reach out to your local engineering and sales teams for more information on these fantastic products and so much more. And be sure to check out the playlists here for more content regarding end-user compute, software-defined data center, mobility, storage, and software-defined networking, and more. And also, be sure to follow me on Twitter for more updates. Thanks again, have a fantastic day, and I look forward to talking to you again really soon.